Welcome to Warehouse Wizards, a podcast powered by Optiorix, in which we explore a couple of hot topics in the warehousing industry, together with industry experts. And today we have the honor to welcome one of the new wizards in the industry, and that is Simon Popelier. Simon, you're very well known in Belgium and around. But for the people who don't know you, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks Bart. Thanks for the invite. So I'm Simon Popelier. I work at Logflow as an innovation manager. And Logflow is, I think maybe, if I can say, the biggest logistics consultant in Belgium. We do a lot of projects for Belgian companies, but also European companies, but mainly Belgians, where we try to create for them some visionary concept. Where if a company is coming towards, they are growing, for instance, and we will grow the next coming 10 years with 5% year over year. And then we make for them a kind of a master plan. How can they do the logistics? How can they do the layout of their production plant? How can they do the site mobility? We kind of create a total plant engineering for their plant and help them with optimizing, with digitalization, with automation, and do it from design, from the very first beginning of design towards the go live. We help them, but in an independent way. So we don't have software, we don't have automation that we sell. We only give advice to the companies.
Oh, yeah. I think Logflow has a very good name in Belgium, so we're very happy to have you here. You say you're working as an innovation manager.
Yeah.
What are like the main trends or main innovations you have seen the past years?
Good question. I think in general that there is more attention for warehousing and logistics. I think I'm quite young, but if you compare with 10 years ago, and if you hear companies talking about 20 to 30 years ago, then if they did an investment, it was always for production. They wanted to get up the speed of a production line or add a new production line, and there was no investment in logistics. They said the warehousing, we will do it just with some manual warehouses, and we will put some people in there. I think there is a trend that more and more companies are aware that they also should invest in logistics and warehousing, also in the transport between production and the warehouse, and we call it intralogistics. And there is a lot of things going. So companies are investing in WMS systems, warehouse management systems. They are investing in automation. Think about full automatic storage systems. Think about AGVs going from the production to the warehouse and so on. I think this is really the big trend.
Did Logflow start on the production side of things or directly went for the warehousing?
Good question. I think the Logflow was started by Erik van den Bussen, and he had a lot of experience in warehouse design. He did it for Katunazi, for Philips and so on. But we did a lot of projects in pure warehousing and distribution companies that just do the logistics and shipping. But we also did a lot of projects for more food companies. So in food and in production, we did a lot of high-bay warehouses and total plant engineering, making the layout for big companies like an Ardo or La Lorraine or so on. And so I think we master both.
Okay, fantastic to hear. So as a logistics consultant, everybody's talking about automation. Sometimes it's difficult to know when to automate, what processes, what not to automate. How do you make these assessments?
Good question. When we start, you see always that a lot of companies, they want to automate one of the processes, or they think we should automate everything. But that's not our vision. A lot of companies think that automation is a kind of continuous improvement style, that they see a small step of a process and they try to look, how can we automate this? Can we not use a robot for this little step? And then they cannot get the payback because it was only this little gain in efficiency. We always start with the long-term vision and trying to make a total concept where we call it business process reengineering. It's the other way around of continuous improvement, and really rethink all the processes, not only one little step in the process. And then you can create a much more smart concept and also use the warehouse, for instance, as a buffer within the production or something like that. And then you can think about a whole other type of concept.
Yeah.
And we really do an assessment looking towards um, all different flows in the factory, all different departments, what should be the link between departments, and then think what can we automate. Because if you're not thinking in this way, you maybe should automate because you say, I have two departments linked towards each other. It's a very long distance in between. We should place there an AGV, an automated guided vehicle, to do the transportation automatically. But if you can do a business process re-engineering, maybe you should make a new layout, and the two departments come next to each other in your new layout. Maybe you don't need automation anymore then. So we first try to make a new concept and then think what of the flows can be automated.
Okay, so you're not always pushing for implementing robots,
No,
so people
no.
can talk about the fact that they're using robots.
Yeah, that's the big pitfall I think that a lot of companies do. They really want to automate, to be cool, flashy, or
I can imagine.
They think that they are innovative. But automation is not the goal as such. You should really think about your processes first and then look what can I do with a good logistics principle, what can I do with a good software, because also with WMS systems or MES, manufacturing execution systems, you can create very good things, and maybe it's not necessary anymore to use a really robot.
Yeah, and do you see some differences in adoption rate per industry? Because you talked a bit about food and beverages and a couple of other industries. Do you see some differences there?
Well, I think historically seen, the big food and beverage companies were investing in automation in the high bay warehouses, the 40-meter high warehouses that you see on the road. This was the big food companies. And why was it? Because they had a lot of money to invest, of course, maybe, but also they had a large scale. Because they needed a lot of storage capacity, not of the activity. So they choose for crane automation, big warehouses. And for a smaller company, it was not possible to do that. And what you see is that over the last, I think, maybe 5 to 10 years, there is a shift from crane automation towards more robotized, little robots that are driving around. So you can much more scale with your solution. So you can also start smaller. And that's the reason why we now see that small and medium-sized enterprises are also starting with automation. Back in the days, it was only for the very big companies. Now also small and medium-sized enterprises can start with something, gain a competitiveness, and then scale over time. So I think that is something that you see. And also linked to that, why could a food and beverage company automate? Because they were at the beginning of the supply chain. They can choose which type of pallet do they use, how high do I stack my pallet. They had a fixed process, and companies that didn't have that fixed process could not automate. For instance, third-party logistics, like you know, they could not automate because they didn't know which type of products I would get into my warehouse.
Piece picking as well is more complex than full pallets.
Yeah, indeed. And now you see that there is a bit, because of the coming of the e-commerce, a lot of new automation came in that is much more flexible. And so now also companies that need a lot of flexibility can also think about automation, like third-party logistics.
Yeah. Okay. How important is accurate product master data for the success of automation projects?
Very important. I think this is the biggest problem if you come at the company and they ask us, do a study about a new warehouse, for instance, and they are asking us, design it, dimension it. So the first thing we ask is, okay, give us the master data. And it's really, if you come at, we have a benchmark at Loveflow, so we keep the numbers. And to give you an idea, the last 3 years, we did something like 160 projects, and only 20% of the projects, of the companies, did at the beginning of our project know the master data.
And if you ask them, how accurate is your master data? They say, oh, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. They say, pretty good. And we ask, okay, give me the length and the width and the weight of a product, but also the conversion. How many pieces do I have in a box? How many boxes on my pallet? And they don't know even. But then they're saying, but Simon, we will start with artificial intelligence. But if you don't have the master data, how can we
Yeah,
start with artificial intelligence?
exactly.
And that's really a big problem. The companies don't have the master data and even don't have the KPIs. Some warehouse managers even don't know how many order lines per day do they pick.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how can you then start with optimization?
Just implement a robot and everything will be fixed.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. What are like the main reasons why companies don't invest in automation?
The biggest reasons, I think that sometimes the step is too high, maybe. But I think that based on the newer technologies that we have, that you can start thinking about automation also as a smaller company because the step in is lower. But I think that sometimes, yeah, the problem is that you need to see the bigger picture. It should be a total concept as well, automation as software, as good working principles. And I think, yeah, if the problem is a warehouse manager or a production manager, it's most of the time an engineer. And I'm also an engineer, but the problem is that they fall in love with technology.
Yeah.
And they go to a fair and they see a fancy new robot. And they say, wow, that's really the robot that I need. They want it in their warehouse. And then they maybe do a proof of concept with it, but it doesn't fit in the warehouse
and the
because it's not the
process.
right technology
Yeah.
or because they don't have the software or the people are not involved in the trajectory and the change management is not there. So yeah, I think that's a really big problem next to the business case that yeah, you should first think about what is my automation strategy and from all the different technology that you see on the fair, maybe you should not start with automation, but maybe starting with a good solid warehouse management system is the first step, and then it will be more easy to scale and to add automation over time.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, it's a bit the same. You cannot see it as a continuous improvement, as a small new type of robot that you enter and you put in the CD-ROM and press on install. It's really
It needs to fit in the entire concept.
the entire
Yeah, yeah.
concept, and
So,
also the
yeah.
people need to
So
be involved.
that's one of the biggest pitfalls of
Yeah.
implementing automation.
I think that is the biggest one that we see
All right.
a lot.
Yeah. Okay. If companies cannot take that big jump towards automation because of variety of reasons, are there like other tools available that could help them increase efficiency in the warehouse?
Well, like I said, I think the good backbone is a solid WMS system,
Yeah.
and that they need to start with this. And I really mean a solid as a kind of a best of breed warehouse management system, not just using your ERP system and say, okay, I do some in a registration way using the ERP for my warehouse activities, but really thinking about an optimizing system that you do task management, that you can think about optimization logic in picking, and that you can have multiple picking strategies and so on. I think you can win a lot there by doing software optimizations before you need to go towards the real automation of millions of euros. And I think that is something that sometimes is forgotten by companies, also because they don't see the difference between a good WMS system with a lot of logic and a lot of efficiency improvement, waste improvement, and just some solution that is registration of the warehouse activities, but is not driving the people in the warehouse and doing the task management and doing logic.
Do you think these warehouse management systems have enough optimization capabilities to drive really?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
If we start with the design of concept and we go towards a new WMS vendor, sometimes they are really opening the eyes for, wow, what do you want here from very advanced logic? And I think, not all WMS partners in the market are already that advanced.
Yeah, you have a couple of good ones in Belgium.
You have some good ones. You also have some international good ones, but I think the state of the art WMS system is nothing compared towards some some ERP logic that we try to do in the warehouse.
Yeah. Nowadays, 75-80% of the warehouses are still working in a manual way. Do you think that these operations can be improved as well?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think there is a lot of improvement also possible in brownfield sites, for instance. It shouldn't be always a new site or the big investments. Um, I think there is a lot to do there, and also um, something that is forgotten is that by implementing more software logic, for instance, that you can also reduce the footprint, and that's something that we really should work on because the land, the building land, is scarce in Belgium,
Especially in Belgium, yes,
but
yes.
in the entire of Europe, I think. And it's our goddamn duty as the new generation of warehouse wizards that we think
Voilà,
about
voilà.
very small footprinted solutions. And I think that software, for instance, can help a lot there. Before we start to extend the building, maybe we can create a much more space efficient concept by using advanced picking logic, advanced warehouse allocation logic, and so on. And I sometimes have big discussions with companies that they say, well, I will not start using the height because it will be less efficient. Because if I use man-up trucks and if I
Yeah.
use multi-layers for picking, it will be not efficient. But I don't believe in this because if we can create a much more compact, smaller footprinted concept, then we don't need to expand the building. So we see in a lot of our projects that we can do it 30% less footprint, the same throughput. So that's 30% that you don't need to extend your building.
Yeah.
If you can invest those money of those 30% extension and you put it in additional software logic, then you can also get a gain in operational efficiency because you can work more efficient, more flexible, more time critically. So it's a kind of a win-win.
Yeah. All right. One of the interesting improvement points that we come across is slotting optimization.
Yeah.
Probably you're very familiar to the topic as well.
Yes.
How do you look at this slotting optimization? Are you using certain tools or strategies to optimize this?
Yeah. Well, we don't have tools as Logflow because we don't have our own software, but what we do is describing slotting policies that we try to implement in software.
And they implement that within the WMS? Or?
That's the question. Well, indeed, they can implement it in the WMS in the better systems that can do advanced logic. And we go very far in this. Most of the time, if you come to a new WMS player, they say, "Oh, we didn't see things like this." Because slotting for us is not just saying based on the A, B, C, the fast, medium, slow movers, we will place the pallets in the warehouse. We go very far in this because we also want to do advanced logic not only for the one location of a system, but we think first of all that you should work with the multiple picking conversions. For piece picking, for box picking, for pallet picking, you should have multiple storage locations that are more or less efficient, more efficient if you can split this up. And so this is a kind of a first kind of slotting. We more call it kind of a warehouse allocation, where we say this piece, we will pick it maybe in some small area. It can be shelving or vertical lift modules or an ASRS system or flow racks. And maybe the box of this same item, we will pick it in a pallet warehouse. So this is the first kind of allocation that we do. And then within this pallet warehouse, we again do kind of a fine slotting algorithm where we think about, first of all, of course, the ABC of the product, but also thinking about the pallet height, also thinking about the weight of a product, also thinking about, do you have some logic between multiple products.
The item correlation.
Item correlation, do we need to place them together maybe?
And that you do on historical data sets?
Yeah, most of the time we do it on historical data because not in a lot of companies it's possible to use external things like the weather or something like that. Sometimes it is possible, but that's not that easy for some businesses. So most of the time on historical data, sometimes a bit on forecasting of sales. But yeah, forecast of
You
sales
don't have the
is
correlation, and it's more on item level then.
on item level, and you don't know, for instance, will it, maybe they know the sales, it will be sold more, this product, but will it then be in a piece or in
Yeah.
a box that I need to pick? That's hard to use also the sales forecast. So most of the time we use yeah, the history of an item and really think about a kind of a controller where we say, okay, how can we control the items and move them from one
Yeah.
zone to another as well.
Yeah. So you guys make those policies. How often should this be reevaluated? Depends probably a bit on the business, on
Yeah,
seasonality, etc.
yeah. The slotting logic, it's, of course, if you have a spare parts warehouse for old trucks, old-timer trucks, spare parts, then you don't need a lot of frequent reallocation or pushing on the button of the controller. But if you have a fashion environment, then we say sometimes you should do it every 2 weeks, for instance. And that you think about what are my fast movers and what is all the other rules that I have, also the volumes per reception line, volumes per order line, and so on, and then do a recalculation. But we always also implement some strategies in the concept that we don't do a total reallocation of the warehouse. It's not that you re-scramble all different
No, I don't
locations
think
again.
warehouse managers would appreciate the fact that we need to reposition every SKU in the warehouse.
No. So we think about small
Yeah.
things also embedded in the system, that we do a kind of a reshuffle already within the picking system, or a reallocation. If you have a small leftover on a pallet, maybe we can reallocate it towards another location, more on box level then.
Okay.
And also such things we try to implement.
And this reevaluation and reslotting, that's not happening in the log flow software. It's
We don't
like
have software.
something you describe or prescribe for the WMS.
We prescribe it for the WMS. And of course, when we need to start the first time in a warehouse, we calculate the first initial mover class and the warehouse allocation, where should we store and pick every conversion of an item. But a good WMS system or total software stack should implement this logic in any way. And sometimes we need to re-evaluate it every year, for instance, for a customer. But that's a kind of a post processing. It should be actually implemented in the software.
Yeah, looking for, so with the forecast, not on historical data sets. All right, good. Everybody is talking about AI nowadays. Do you already see the impact of AI within the warehousing operations?
Good question. I think AI is, of course, a bit of a buzzword, and a lot of technologies are assigned towards artificial intelligence, and maybe it's not really artificial intelligence. But I think what if you think about AI, it's I think you have a lot of use cases that you already are aware of because of, for instance, seasonality, that you try to predict the stock levels or predict customer behavior. But for me, that's on ERP level, because that is saying how much stock do you want of an item. On the other side, on machine level, we have it also already in pick robots, for instance, that the pick robot needs to grasp a piece from a tote, from a container, and he needs to retry it 5 times before he learns how to do it. That's kind of machine learning. We also see it, but that's on the machine level. And I have the feeling that there is still a gap in the layer of WMS systems. If we talk about artificial intelligence, we're not there yet. We see it on the upper level and lower level. But on WMS, I think there is a lot to do there. You can think about a lot about picking strategies or prediction of customer behavior, but then really on hourly basis and not on seasons. You can think about packaging optimization. You can think about slotting logic, for instance, is also a good use case. But at the moment, we don't see it really happening. I think a lot of WMS vendors are thinking about it, and it's on the roadmap. But it's not there yet in the warehouse of a small or medium-sized enterprise yet.
So it's time for WMSs to take actions on these
I
points.
think so. But
Yeah.
if I come to some warehouses, they don't even have slotting yet. So they're still working
Yeah.
with fixed locations.
If you ask 100 companies, do you apply slotting optimization? All of them will say yes, but it's always ABC and
Well, ABC or even just fixed locations that they say, I've seen everything by color of the items or by supplier or by the weight of the products. And then maybe they do one time a year a recalculation. But I think, we have a long way to go with the small and medium-sized enterprises before we can think about artificial intelligence. And they should first have the master data.
Absolutely right. Okay, time for the closing questions to wrap it up. Looking forward as a warehouse wizard, what do you think that the advancements in automation will eliminate all the need for human labor and
Yeah, I don't think so. Not the coming 10 years. I know that a lot of people are afraid of this, of a dark warehouse with only robots and the robots will taking over. But yeah, I think it was before I was born, but I think it was 1983. There was a fair here in Ghent. It's called the Flanders Technology Fair. And maybe you should look it up. They had a poster, and it was kind of the start of the third industrial revolution in Belgium, and it was a Flemish program. And they used as the poster campaign two hands, a human and a droid shaking the hand. And this is already 40 years ago. So 40 years ago, they said, "Oh, watch out! The robot will take over. We should work together with the robot." We are 40 years later, and we still use the same picture to say Industry 4.0 is there. And we should work together with the robot. And I think indeed we will work together the coming years with the robot. But really replacing the people, I don't think so. I think that we have a lot to do to be able to work together with technology, it's automation and software, that we need to reskill the logistics operators in the warehouse that they work together with the robot and have affinity for techniques, for sensors, for software, but really replacing them. I don't think we are there yet.
Yeah, so it'll be with the golden triangle between humans, automation, and then software.
Yeah,
combined in a better, more efficient
and that's what
way.
we call operator 4.0. An operator that is working together with software, with automation, with lean principles, with also production and logistics that are coming together, working more together. So it's I think that's really the point we should work on, training people to get a more technical feeling. And you can say everything with digital twins and AR, augmented reality will solve it. We will call the expert via internet, but you still need a person to do the first line care there. If there is a sensor missing or there needs to be something done, there still will be an operator in the warehouse to adjust it or do the first line care.
All right, Simon, thanks a lot for coming over and for sharing all this,
All right.
this knowledge with us.
Thanks for the invitation.
So thanks a lot.